I'm Amy Watson and I dare to inspire.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for speaking to me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Hassl, which is a social enterprise that's all about tackling violence against predominantly women and girls all over the world. Very much about inviting men to be part of the conversation and the solution. And we kind of always say our mission is to redirect responsibility away from women as individuals to stay safe and onto society as a whole to do better, build a better world.
No,
So yeah, that's Hassl. Maybe it's not so
that's
much me. I have
amazing.
nothing interesting about me, but
That is not true at all because, obviously you've started, you're the founder of Hassle. So, what got you into this and what made you think, I'm going to start something myself?
I think growing up, I've just always been very interested in like social issues, and I guess had that kind of just a sensitivity thing from being little, and yeah, always interested in like politics and all that kind of stuff. And then essentially, I ended up, long story short, doing my degree in entrepreneurship. And when I did my degree, I kind of some of my tutors very quickly introduced me to kind of the concept of social enterprise, which is a lot more well known now, but when I was at uni, probably not so much. And to me, I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. Like, this is the perfect, because I've always like loved doing a bit of everything and the whole entrepreneurial side of things where, you're problem solving and you're, yeah, doing your own thing essentially. But I've never had the desire to like make a lot of money or be rich, where I just want to just do something that makes an impact. And then social enterprise is like the perfect combination of both. So yeah, I think when I kind of found out that middle ground existed, I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. But essentially, I ran like my own businesses before, like smaller businesses and stuff. And whilst I was at university and at school, and then um, I basically graduated during COVID. So the plan was to start a new social enterprise, or I was in the process of doing it. I spent my last year of uni planning it, but COVID happened, so that ruined all my plans. So yeah, basically, instead, I just ended up working kind of very spontaneously moved to London and just worked in different startups and things. So that's kind of like my history, I guess. But for me, it was just like having so many experiences personally. Just, I was working in health tech in my last job, like nothing to do really with, with this and just the amount of every time I spoke to a woman or, it'd be a client meeting or whatever it is. And it's just so
Mm.
quickly we get onto those kind of topics, even down just like to the creepy guy in the office or, oh, I just got followed on the way here. And, just
Mm.
those how we've normalized it so much
Yeah.
that we just talk about it in this way. And then essentially one of my colleagues slash friends had an incident and she had loads of evidence and she's a very confident woman and the police just essentially were like, we don't want to know. And I think for me, that was kind of the final straw where I was just like, she had evidence. She's very, she's in her 30s, like she's not sort of a teenage girl that this is her first experience and she's, still finding her voice and that kind of thing. Like, and yeah, I think it was that.
Yeah,
So yeah, and
brilliant.
I guess a bit of delusion as well that I just think I can do it.
No, I think we're all a little bit delusional because we all want to do these
Yeah,
amazing
right.
things. So, without our delusion, if we're going to call it that, you wouldn't be doing such incredible things. And you're inspiring so many people by starting this social enterprise. Tell us a little bit about, what the organization does, who they access, all the little things that, educational pieces, everything that, that you do.
Yeah. So I started Hassl literally 19 months ago now. So we're still very new. And we're essentially working through a five-stage plan. So it's a combination of different initiatives coming at the problem from all different angles, but very much always having that overarching thing of I'm not giving women more stuff to do. So whatever we do is about taking things away from women,
Right.
taking responsibility. So we don't tell women to teach men or any of this stuff. It's very much, and we don't do anything that's like safety apps or self-defense. It's prevention. It is reducing harm in the first place. It is building safer environments so that we don't have to carry the mental load or we can start to reduce it. Created a couple of awareness campaigns, which have about 20 million views combined. Everyone we've done has hit well. So that's one thing we do. We have free online education resources, which are primarily designed for men on how to be part of the solution. But anyone can use them. It's just that everything we do is kind of designed for men first, because I believe that's where the most work needs to happen. That's not to say that women don't have work to do too, but it's very much, and also men are typically in better positions to influence men who are the perpetrators of harm. They're closer to them, they're more likely to listen to other men than they are to women, especially if they've got misogynistic beliefs, which obviously most of the time they do if they're perpetrators of kind of sexual violence and all this kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, we have resources, campaigns. We do a lot of like workshops and workplace kind of training things. So we do again a lot. It's not like the HR compliance kind of stuff. It's very much building empathy, understanding people's lived experiences, navigate like how we navigate the world. So we do things like on the mental load. It's very much trying to connect people to the problem and actually get them to care rather than just not getting in trouble kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's very much, it's very complementary in a lot of ways to your sort of HR compliance stuff, but it's very much the other side of it. It's for organizations that want to build a culture where it's socially unacceptable rather than it's just not allowed, if that makes sense. So we really come at it from the other side. And everything is very much designed to be kind of non-accusatory, to invite people to understand why we refer to men, but it's not saying it's all men, and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's for any, like, it's not just for men to take part in. We have people of all genders, backgrounds, etc. One, because it helps with having those lived experiences in the room, and people tend to connect better when it's people they know, right? But also, I always say no one has got stuff not to unlearn or not to learn. Like even the most, like even me, like this is my whole thing, but I'm still learning more things every day where something so deeply conditioned or ingrained in me that stems from patriarchal systems or expectations or whatever it is. So yeah, so that's kind of we have an advocacy program. So we have our Hassl Men initiative, which is essentially now more than 1,000 men across the world that are supporting Hassl's growth essentially through kind of giving them the tools to advocate, to like even they do things like, before we put out new resources, kind of test resources to make sure they land well, especially with men. A lot of them create content for us. A lot of them just help in like with their professional skills. So all different things. And again, we have ambassadors. We have 3,500 now in like more than 120 countries across the world. But the platform is primarily for men to advocate, but other people, anyone can advocate, but it's the sort of primary focus is making sure men have a space where they can get it wrong, essentially. So we do calls and things, but it's just me on the call, so we don't traumatize anyone in the process of them asking questions. But it's a very open space, and it's like, we're here. I want you to ask the questions to me, so we don't ask this in a setting where might not be, and then you would just end up thinking, not understanding or thinking the wrong thing or going down some other path. So
incredible though. I mean, and it's great to have men along the way, like, supporting. That's what we need, is them to engage.
So important, yeah.
But like to be able to do it in schools and teachers and teaching young boys, it's
Yeah.
incredible. So I think what you're doing is, and what you've done is absolutely incredible. So people, I've seen you online, I've seen everything that's going on, and I just think it's so inspiring. So it's, the fact that you learned how to do a social enterprise and then came this far, and you've done it, and it's going, 20 million views and things like that is no small feat. So who was like your inspiration growing up, would you say?
I think I kind of always say my parents, I guess. I don't know, you're probably maybe thinking of like more of like a public figure or something, but
No, it's whoever you
no,
want.
I think I always used to say that from like an entrepreneurship perspective, especially, I didn't really know of any women when I was, especially like before I went to uni, who were female entrepreneurs, because like they just didn't have the visibility, right? The only person I remember is Deborah Meaden. That was like the only person I kind of knew of who was like a woman and also, in business. And I used to talk about it a lot. I wrote my dissertation on it actually, like whether you can be, because I've always been quite like a girly girl, if you want to, in terms of, I like makeup and hair and all that kind of stuff. But,
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to adopt masculine traits to be taken seriously. But then it was always, is that how I'm the only way I'm going to be successful? So I wrote my dissertation on that. But I think I always found it quite hard to, because also social entrepreneurs as well there's a lot more knowledge of social entrepreneurs now as well. I feel like they weren't also in the limelight either. So I found it quite hard from that perspective, I think, to kind of see myself, see what I could be.
Mm.
But I think I've always said, like, my parents just, I mean, we share very similar values. I come relatively from privilege in terms of, I've never had to like struggle for anything, and I'm white and I'm straight and I live in a country that's relatively safe in the scheme of things. And I think I was always very aware of that. And my parents, not that they were going, but they're very much always made me aware of this was a lottery. And, ultimately I know I did nothing to deserve having a good life, right? And it was just always like, how can I not waste my privilege for so many people who don't have the privilege to go and try and make change in the world,
Amazing.
right? Like,
That's
I would like to be like
amazing.
that. So,
Do
yeah.
you feel like you've faced any, obviously you must have faced loads of challenges, like obviously setting up Hassl and, with the
Yeah.
barriers you've kind of spoken about, but have you faced any challenges that you think, you know what, we need to push through this more? Like as a woman, is there anything that you faced that you can share?
I think, I don't know whether I mean, I guess I feel like there's just so many problems for
Mhm.
women, right, that we have to push through. And the thing is, like, we are focused on violence to an extent, but I talk a lot about, all kinds of inequalities, not only towards women, towards people of all marginalized groups. But I think one of the things I think is quite a big thing, especially in the business side of things, and just, I guess, yeah, is I feel like for women, there's a lot less tolerance for failure from, especially publicly.
Mm.
You see it a lot with like female founders and stuff where typo on the website and
Mm.
you might as well give up. But, men can be trafficking women and it's like, oh, I'll still buy from him. Probably didn't mean it like that kind of, like those kind of things. I think there is like, and that's not from men necessarily. It's also a lot of women that hold other women to a much higher standard than they would hold men
With that, and
to.
like, what would your advice be then to, women or younger girls,
Yeah.
if, if they face these challenges, what's your kind of like top kind
Yeah,
of
I would say, like, I mean, you know, for example, like, I have two people that work for me. We're all in a very similar mindset, of course, and we can just laugh about it, or we can, we have, if we need to vent or we need to, like, we do that with each other. I mean, I obviously have also like a HR platform, all this kind of stuff, but so I think even if you can't hire or whatever, but surrounding yourself with people that you can just be open with and like talk to about your struggles and things like that. I think, I have a lot of people, especially from Hassl, that are just like very senior within their professions that have reached out and just been like, if you want help. And some of them I just literally chat to because I think a lot of people can't really like relate to it. So some of them, those people are just really good just to be like, am I crazy for being,
yeah.
for being this or that and stuff. So, but yeah, I would say definitely like make sure you have people around you that kind of can understand or have even done what you've done so that you can understand from them what helped
Yes,
them,
if like younger girls that are obviously, looking up to you, obviously you're quite young yourself, like doing everything that you've done is amazing. And it's, so younger girls that are looking to you and thinking, oh my God, I want to start this. I want to do
Yeah.
something like this. Like where would you tell them to start and what advice would you give them?
Regardless of what you're doing, the whole thing is like, what problem are you solving, right? That's ultimately what successful business is, or successful entrepreneurship or impact is. What problem are you solving? And I think it becomes so much easier when you're solving a problem that you have first-hand experience of. But then also, I also have first-hand experience of harassment and stuff like that towards white straight women. I don't have the lived experience of people from all different backgrounds and more marginalized groups and all this kind of stuff. So I think, that's why we have things like the ambassador program where we have so much diversity and people from all different lived experiences that I'm not, I don't want to build something that's advocating for one group of women. It's for all women or no women, in my opinion. Like, there is a lot of things out there, and especially, like female founder programs or neurodivergent, whatever it is, there are resources. And I think with social media and stuff, we'd never have been able to grow to the point we have without social media because we've never spent money on marketing ever. We don't have to. And often, a barrier is financial stuff, right? And then, as we've already said, if you want investment, women getting investment is way, way harder.
Mm.
So I would say like leverage the free stuff that's out there, learn as much as you can, and also just like try, like just do it rather than planning for ages. Because I'm such a perfectionist and a planner, but when I went to uni, they were just like, you need to try and fail, try and fail, try and fail. Like you don't wait around, just do it, learn, move. Like that's what you need to do. And you do learn so much more from, yeah, obviously there's a certain level of risk to to take into account. But yeah, I think just doing it and just you don't know what you don't know until
I think it's great advice for anyone that's kind of like watching and that wants to like get into either social enterprise or business or anything like you've said. So I think that is amazing. And people might look at you and think, oh my gosh, you've done so much, you've achieved so much, and you're still going and you're thinking of new things and accessing new people and things like that. What do you do to kind of like for your own well-being? What do you do to relax? Like how do you
I'm not a good
balance?
person to ask this because I
Oh
don't really.
gosh. Most women aren't, to be fair.
I was actually having this conversation the other day with someone who's yeah, he gives me a lot of like support and stuff, but well, there's a couple of people and we are talking about this because I think I mean I have ADHD, so when I care about something, it's like my whole life and my obsession. And as much as I don't think it's healthy, I don't think we would have got to where we have without that
Yeah.
addictive mindset. Um, but I think, I mean, I have little things like, but I have a walking pad under my desk so that like I get my steps in every day and things like that. And definitely, I think the nature of startup is the first couple of years there is this kind of hustle culture that's quite hard to not do unless you get a really lucky break. Um, but I feel like we're coming to the point where I can start to plan things better and, that kind of thing. But right now I literally work every day. I don't really do anything else. Like I'm not gonna lie about it. So,
I
it
think
is my whole life. And
most women are, they do push themselves, and it is something that,
yeah,
maybe we have to do better at, taking care of ourselves a bit more and
yeah, of course.
scheduling that as well, But
Yeah.
like you said, you've done so well. You wouldn't have got to where you are without your like incredible mind. So thank you so much for sharing everything about Hassle. And, if there's anything like we can do as like people, what do you want people to do to kind of engage with Hassle and things like that? How can we find you?
Yeah, so we have so many things. So obviously you can go to social media and follow along and all that kind of stuff. We have a survey that people can take to start sharing. Well, we've got about 9,000 submissions. So it basically shapes a lot of the stuff that we do because we want to build what people want and need. We have our ambassador programs, so especially men, but people of all genders and backgrounds can sign up, and it's essentially using your skills, whatever they may be, to help grow Hassle, reach more people, build more resources, set better examples to young boys, all that kind of stuff. Um, we do workplace training, so we do workshops, and I also do talks at like events and conferences and things. We do things on like the mental load. I do talks on how change is possible and closer than people think, and how we meet people where they are to take people on a better path and all this kind of stuff. Because it's very applicable in so many areas. Um, the big thing that we're, I guess, working on now, we are working with a lot of companies that are essentially kind of either kind of umbrella within an industry or are very influential within an industry, especially like predominantly male industries. And we're building essentially large scale prevention initiatives, kind of in partnership. So I'm actually in the process of putting all the information up properly on the website, but they're called Hassle Pioneers, and they are industry leaders that are trying to pioneer change.
Amazing. I think
Yeah,
you've got such amazing
yeah.
goals, and I think it's amazing to see where you want this to go.
Thank you.
Big dreams, and
Yeah,
we're all along on this journey with you to like see how you like develop. And everyone, please follow Hassle and look into it. get in touch and let's widen it as much as we can. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much, AB. It's been honestly amazing to speak to you.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much. And obviously, I'm going to keep in touch because it's such an incredible thing that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.